Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. This week, we're talking about Cool Whip, which must start. Shout out to Valerie M on Instagram. She sent this one as another one of those mystery foods like Velveeta. So I added it to my list. And it's funny because I'm also seeing so many healthier summer dessert recipes that use Cool Whip. And I was like, we have to talk about this. So admittedly, I have my own history with Cool Whip. I remember it being in my house as a kid because I think it was like a low calorie or whatever thing that also gave you something sweet. And then later in my life, I remember in my old Weight Watchers days, I would have the Cool Whip. I'd buy it, I'd put it in the freezer, and then eat like a spoonful or two to have something sweet, or if I wanted ice cream, I guess. Admittedly, though, I have not looked at this stuff in probably 20 plus years. So that's sort of the premise of where we're coming to this from. Now, for those who are not familiar, Cool Whip is essentially an alternative whipped cream. Full disclosure, it is technically imitation whipped cream. And from what I found, it was invented by a food scientist named William A. Mitchell in the 1960s. So fun fact, he is apparently the same food scientist who brought us Pop Rocks. And I think Tang also. Anyway, Pop Rocks, shout out. For what it's worth, I'd pick some Pop Rocks over Cool Whip. Anyway, the intention behind the imitation whipped cream was to have an option that could be mass-produced and had a longer shelf life. First, it was made by a company called General Foods, which was later bought by Kraft. Today, it's a Kraft Heinz product. And originally, it was also dairy-free, which gave it another selling point, I suppose. Today, though, there is some dairy in there. At the same time, I mean, we'll look at the ingredients, but part of me says, with all the other things in there, I still think it has a long shelf life and nothing in there is going to go bad. Anyway, on the Kraft Heinz website for Cool Whip, it's marketed with the following language. So it says, from simple to elaborate treats, Cool Whip makes desserts dreamy. Then a little further down on the page, it says, cool and creamy, delicious and dreamy. Cool Whip is the dollop that makes desserts extra special. So light and fluffy, it adds a cloud of perfection to everything from pies to sundaes. Just dollop and enjoy. So they call it a whipped topping, and they have a bunch of varieties now. There's a zero sugar option, a fat-free option. There's one that's extra creamy, and then, of course, the original. And for our purposes today, I'm inclined for us to look at the original. And I think the takeaway on all of those variations is, yes, of course, read the label of the one that's in front of you. And remember that whenever a food company pulls out one thing, it tends to be that a bunch of other things are added in order to maintain the flavor or the texture. So the fat-free one likely has more sugar and more additives for texture. The zero sugar one likely has a bunch of alternative sweeteners and potentially more fat as well. Like I said, definitely read the label of whichever one you're inclined to explore if you are. So then on the page for the original Cool Whip, after repeating that like cool and creamy, delicious and dreamy thing, it says, it adds a cloud of perfection to everything from pies to ice cream sundaes. Cool Whip is a one-of-a-kind whipped topping. Add to your favorite dessert creations like banana pudding, strawberry shortcake, or parfaits. Top your hot chocolate. Add to a smoothie or dip fresh fruit. The possibilities are endless. Each serving contains only 25 calories and 1.5 grams of fat. Keep our frozen whipped topping in the freezer until ready to thaw and enjoy. Our 8-ounce tub of Cool Whip stays fridge fresh for 2 weeks. Just dollop and enjoy. And I don't know. We haven't even gotten there yet. Like I said, I'm pretty sure there isn't an ingredient in there that will really spoil. So it's funny to me that they're sort of giving that shelf life. But I do think that's a common question on the internet. And then it's also funny to me the way they tout the calories and the fat info. And so I'll just say, thank goodness that you're savvier than that because you're here with salad with a side of fries. So let's look at those nutrition facts. So serving size is 2 tablespoons. In that, we get, as they said, 25 calories, 1.5 grams of fat, of which it says 1 gram of saturated fat and 0 grams of trans fats. Then it says 3 grams of carbohydrates, of which it's 0 grams of fiber and 2 grams of sugar. That's 1 gram of added sugar. And then there's also big fat zeros across the board for the micronutrients, right? Those vitamins and minerals. So if you're one of those people who only look at calories, you're probably thinking, no big deal. Even if you're watching your carbs or looking for something that may be keto friendly, 3 grams of carbohydrates, this might work. The real mystery of all of it, for me personally, still remains. So we have to look at the ingredients. All right, are you ready for this? Okay, here we go. Cool Whip ingredients: water, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated vegetable oil, that's coconut and palm kernel oils, skim milk, then contains less than 2% of light cream, sodium caseinate, natural and artificial flavor, xanthan and guar gums, modified food starch, polysorbate 60, sorbitan monostearate, sodium polyphosphate, beta carotene for color. So essentially, we have water, sweetener, and hydrogenated oils with some additives. And I say this with love and understanding that you might still choose this. I say choose it knowing that not a single one of these ingredients is health promoting. Full stop. What's also interesting is that this one is a great example of something that says 0 grams of trans fats in the nutrition facts. And then the 4th ingredient is hydrogenated oil, a trans fat. Now, this happens because on food labeling, they're allowed to round down if it's 0.5 grams or less per serving. So this is a powerful reminder to read the ingredients and to recognize that if we have multiple servings, 0 plus 0 does not equal 0 when they have rounded down and we see something in the ingredients that's not clear in the numbers nutrition facts. Yes, there is the skim milk in there. It's the 5th ingredient, far behind the other 2 sweeteners, and the last of the ingredients before we get to the ones that are there for essentially like texture, flavor, and color. And I will say, I think I have a bit of a talent for being able to pronounce bizarre words. So I'm not a great example of this, yet you may decide that you can't pronounce these ingredients, and that makes it a no for you. Many of these are also not naturally occurring ingredients. So, frankly, as I look at this list, I think the only one that occurs naturally is water. Everything else in there is man-made to some degree. So that might make it a no for you. To discuss some of why I hear people today opting for Cool Whip, I think with the skim milk in today's version, it's no longer non-dairy or dairy-free. Therefore, it's also not vegan anymore. Depending on how you do keto, if you do keto, the high fructose corn syrup is typically not keto-friendly ingredient. At the same time, if your keto is simply looking at calories and grams of carbs, it might work for you. It is gluten-free if you're looking for that. And at the same time, regular whipped cream is also probably gluten-free. And so that brings us to the question that I always ask. It's this as opposed to what? So if it's Cool Whip instead of old-fashioned whipped cream, let's compare those ingredients. So if you have like actual legit old-fashioned whipped cream, those ingredients are heavy whipping cream, which is usually a combination of milk and cream. You add your own sweetener, which could be sugar or something. And then maybe sometimes add a little bit of vanilla extract. For me, I'm going to opt for the old-fashioned whipped cream that has ingredients that the human body can recognize, as opposed to the science experiment of Cool Whip. And I want to go back to a couple other things that they said in their Cool Whip marketing blurb. So yes, certainly where you would have used whipped cream, you can use Cool Whip. With that said, I'm going to, with love, ask you not to put this in your smoothie if you're looking for your smoothie to be health promoting. And consider how much of this you're having if you're going to have it. As with anything sweetened, even if it's not sugar, you can still get an insulin response from sweet flavors. And those tastes can keep us craving those tastes, right? So sweet can keep us craving sweet. They say the shelf life is 2 weeks in the fridge, yet it's recommended to keep it in the freezer till you're ready to use it. I stand by the idea that there isn't much of anything in there that would go bad. And there's probably enough of the hydrogenated oil and the gums and other things that they could probably act like a preservative for the little bit of skim milk and the other, the sodium caseinate. And there was one other dairy thing in there in the ingredients. So anyway, like I said, I don't think much in there could go bad. For me personally, it's a no on the Cool Whip in general. And still, if I am at someone's house and there's a dessert or something made with it, the Cool Whip ingredient may not be my deal breaker. I think the beauty of all of this is that you get to decide for yourself. And now at least you get to make informed choice. And I think that's where the power lies. Well, as always, everybody, I'm Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I'm at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideoffries.com. Pick your platform, send a message. I love hearing from you, your takeaways, your ideas, your questions. This is also the easiest way to learn more about working with me as your coach. Molly McNamee, thank you one more time for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. And friends, if you are not already a member, join us in the Happy Healthy Hub. You'll go to asaladwithasideoffries.com/membership. This shows your support for this podcast, this community, and above all, your health. On top of this week's episode in full video with some behind-the-scenes pieces, your 24/7 Ask Me Anything, and the community board, you'll get this week's recipe for the summer chicken parmesan. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform, share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it and you are worth it. Happy healthy.